What a day. Hang on a sec. Good evening, my dear watchers. And for those of you who are wondering what I did to that zombie I dealt with, let's just say that zombie is in a better place. And boy, do I hate zombies. Like I said in the last review, I mean, vampires are smart, zombies are dumb. Vampires are clean, those zombies are dirty. Us vampires, we suck. Those zombies, they bite. And there's nothing the zombies cannot do about it. But you know, there was a book where there were vampires who were more like zombies back then. And it was a book made back in 1954. And this is my review for the day, ladies and gentlemen. The story I'm going to review for you today is I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. You see, Richard Matheson, he was a really great writer of his time. And he decided to write a story about a man who goes by the name of Robert Neville. Now, Robert Neville, he's the last man on Earth. Because, according to the story, it's set in the future. Where, Robert Neville, he's the last man on Earth because there was this plague going around, infecting everybody. And unlike this plague is turning everybody into vampires. And Robert Neville, he's the only person who is immune to the virus, who is immune to the plague. At first, he was very skeptic because his friend named Ben Coltman, knew that this plague is turning everybody into vampires, but Robert, he was skeptic about it. But he knows that the plague has been spreading, and he was hoping to find a cure. But sadly, everybody got infected, and everybody died, and they came back from the dead. He lost his wife and his daughter. So now he barricaded his house. He is all alone. And he's been in that house for like 3 years, trying to defend himself against the vampires. And his old friend Ben, he becomes a leader and keep calling for Robert to come in. Come on out, Robert. Always banging his door saying, come out, Robert, come on out. But Robert is smart enough and say, go away. And he covered his house with garlic, mirrors, and crosses. Although in the book they did say that crosses are very helpful except against Jewish vampires. Now the book itself was a good story. He talks a lot about Dracula. Pretty flattered. And Van Helsing. The book referenced a lot about the Dracula story. And he made himself stakes so he can hit him in the heart with it. And he's been going about trying to find hope somewhere. But when the nighttime comes, he goes back to his home. And then sooner or later, he finds himself a dog. So he thought there would be hope for him. But sadly, the dog was infected, so he had to kill him. Now, here's one thing in the story that they didn't use in the movie. There were female vampires who's trying to distract Robert by walking around topless, trying to get his attention. But Robert always keep reminding himself that they are vampires. They rather kill him. Dang phone calls. I knew I should shut off the phone. Anyway. So, therefore, he always kept finding a way to keep on finding more vampires and keep killing them. Until, here's the shocker twist. He meets a girl named Ruth, who turns out that she is infected, but she took some kind of medication to not become one of them. And then Robert thought a number one solution. He did a blood transfer. He did a blood transfer to her, and now she is completely cured. She's no longer afraid of garlic, crosses, or mirrors. So now he finally figures out that his blood was the cure. It's just nobody didn't figure it out. But here was another problem. There was a race of infected people who are not vampires, but they are hunters too. They kill vampires, and they're trying to kill Robert because they are afraid of him. It turns out that he staked against people who were infected but didn't turn into a vampire yet, so now they are afraid of him, and they're trying to kill him. So now it turns out that he wasn't the last hope to rule the world. Those infected people now inherit the earth. And Robert is nothing more but a legend. And that was the story of I Am Legend. Now, believe it or not, this book made the famous zombie creator in history inspiration, George Romero, the inspiration of creating zombies. But before they made Night of the Living Dead, there was a movie they made back in 1964, starring the legendary Vincent Price, Last Man on Earth. Now, I had to say, this movie was close to the original novel. Very close. Just not much details. And for those of you who wants to see the Vincent Price movie, Last Man on Earth, well, I have the movie in this DVD collection. Undead Vampire Movie Collection. All 20 movies in this pack. And The Last Man on Earth is in this. Along with other vampire movies I enjoy. They're in the public domain, so you can also find it on YouTube. But one thing I would recommend for you to find on YouTube, a colorized version. They made a colorized version of Last Man on Earth and Night of the Living Dead. And they are pretty neat. But besides that, there was another one they made. And this one was made in 1971. And it's called The Omega Man, starring Charlton Heston. And they changed it a lot, saying that the plague was a chemical warfare and it was spreading in America. And Charlton Heston is this one-man army, making it more like an action film. And of course, letting these vampire creatures just call themselves mutants. Here's my impression of Charlton Heston. Get your paws off me, you dang dirty vampires! Blood is people! Didn't invent the law. They were the law. That is my only impression I can do of Charlton Heston. He is a good action guy, but I like Clint Eastwood myself. Go ahead. Make my day. I know what you're thinking, punk. You thinking that I use about 99 impressions? Or 100? Well, you think I'm that good, punk? And then about the year 2007, they decided to make a brand new I Am Legend. Except not sticking to the original book, but saying that they are mutated people who hates the sun. Starting with Will Smith himself, I Am Legend. Now, to me and the multi-voice reviewer, we don't care about Will Smith. I mean, he's a good actor, but there's some movies we don't always want to watch with him in it. And we didn't watch the movie, but it turns out multi-voice reviewer's grandmother seen it. She said it was very good, and there was 2 endings. And I prefer the ending where this one mutant leader wants his wife back and don't want her to be cured. He wanted her just the way she is. Instead of that other scene they did, where he sacrificed himself in going against the leader and then explode. While the girl and the kid that he met give him his blood as hope. And then in 2007, they also made another movie, which is, of course, Asylum Studios. And you know them, they always make copycat movies. And they made their version of I Am Legend, called I Am Omega. I had to say, for a movie, it's a copycat, it's stupid. Just like all the other Asylum films, they're all stupid. They're just copycatting, they're just copying the very popular movies. It's just so ridiculous. So if you take my advice, I recommend reading the original novel, or watch The Last Man on Earth. It's close to the book. But if it's up to me, I'd rather make my version of I Am Legend, and this time, make it close to the original book. 'Cause even as a vampire, these vampires, they're not my type. They're more like the kind of vampires I don't like. They are worse than zombies. Zombie vampires. What are zombie vampires, you would ask? Well, zombie vampires, they are like vampires. They feast on blood, but their skin gets all rotten like a zombie. They go completely crazy, and not only they go after humans, they can also go after other vampires. They are like the lowest of the low vampires. And somebody turning into a vampire zombie, it's rare. It's very rare. But I always make sure no other person who were bitten never gets turned into one of them. 'Cause zombie vampires are way worse than just zombies. But all in all, this is a good story. I Am Legend. Hey, I'm Count Dracula. I myself am a legend too. As Lord of the Vampires. Well, this is Count Dracula telling you all, if you like this review of I Am Legend, please leave a comment down below, hit like, and subscribe. As for me, I will return. Now, I'm in between, and it's up to you to vote. 'Cause this time I got something special for both of you. And it's up to you to leave a comment down below. What do you want me to review next? Daybreaker or Dawn to Dust? 'Cause I'm in between these two vampire movies that I would like to review. And it's up to you if you want me to review Daybreaker, that Australian vampire movie, or Dusk Till Dawn, that Robert Rodriguez Mexican vampire movie. This is Count Dracula, saying to you all, good night.